So you get your paycheck, you see that number, and for a second, it feels pretty good. But then, poof, it just vanishes. You've got rent, a car payment, some mystery fee from your bank, and oh yeah, the taxes that took a huge bite before you ever saw a dime. And you're just left there thinking, where did it all actually go? Well, today we're going to pull back that curtain on the whole system, the one nobody ever really bothers to explain.
All right, let's just start with a number, $948. Now, this isn't some random figure I pulled out of a hat. This number is costing you money. Right now, whether you know it or not. The big question is, what on earth is it for?
That's it. Almost $1,000 a year. Just gone. And not because of bad luck or a rotten economy, but just from a knowledge gap. So, to make this feel a little more real, let's follow the story of someone who's probably a lot like you.
Let's meet Alex. Alex is 26, makes about 55 grand a year, and is pretty confused about, well, pretty much all of this money stuff. Alex's story is full of all these little questions and anxieties that I bet are going to feel super familiar.
You know, it all starts with something simple, like a trip to the grocery store. Alex is looking at the receipt, then back at the shopping cart, and the math just isn't mathing. The same stuff costs so much more than it did just a couple of years ago. It's that feeling we've all had, right? And it has a name.
It's called inflation. It just means your money buys less tomorrow than it does today. A little while ago, it peaked at 9.1%. That was the highest it had been in 40 years. And here's the part that really trips people up. When you hear that inflation is cooling down, that doesn't mean prices are going back to normal. Nope, it just means they're not going up quite as fast. That car is still moving forward. That coffee that feels way too expensive, that's just the new price now.
Okay, so if your money is constantly losing a little bit of its power, you've got to understand the rules of the game just to stay ahead. And that starts with this little 3-digit number that, believe it or not, kind of secretly runs your life. So Alex found the perfect apartment. Everything was looking great. But then, after the landlord ran a credit check, the place was mysteriously gone. That quiet rejection wasn't personal. It came from a single number, a 638 credit score. See, this isn't just some abstract score on a website. It has real-world consequences that can literally lock you out of opportunities. So what even goes into this number? What's wild is how simple the formula is when you actually see it broken down. Take a look. A massive 65% of your score comes from just two things: paying your bills on time, that's your payment history, and how much of your available credit you're using. That's it. It's not some dark magic. It's just basic math.
And this right here is why it matters so much. Over the life of a mortgage on the exact same house, having a fair score instead of an excellent one can cost you an extra $60,000 or more. The system literally charges you more money for the privilege of having less money. It is an incredibly expensive lesson to learn the hard way.
Okay, let's talk about another myth that costs people a ton of money. Alex gets offered a really nice $8,000 raise. But instead of celebrating, Alex gets anxious. Why? Because of that fear. Will this bump me into a higher tax bracket and actually make my paycheck smaller? This fear is everywhere, and it is completely 100% wrong.
You see, the US tax system works in layers, kind of like a cake. You only pay that higher tax rate on the little slice of your income that falls into that new higher bracket. All the rest of your money, it's still being taxed at the same lower rates as before. So here's the bottom line, and I mean this: a raise will never cause you to take home less money. Ever. So yeah, Alex took that raise. All right, so we've been playing defense. We've been protecting our money. Now let's switch to offense. Let's talk about how to not just protect your money, but to actually make it grow. And it all starts with a concept that's often called the eighth wonder of the world.
This, right here, is where time becomes your absolute superpower. Just look at the difference 10 years can make. Someone who starts investing just $250 a month at age 25 ends up with over $500,000 more than someone who does the exact same thing but starts just 10 years later. That decade head start, it changes everything.
Let's just put that into a picture. That first person, they only put in an extra $30,000 of their own money over those 10 years. But that tiny difference in what they put in generated an extra $500,000 in growth. That's it. That's compound interest doing all the heavy lifting for you, silently, while you're just out living your life. So, you want to know the absolute easiest way to get started with this? It's your employer's 401k match. I mean, it is literally free money. It is a 100% return on your investment right away. And yet somehow, nearly half of all people who have access to a match are just leaving that money on the table. It's part of their salary. The day Alex learned this, they enrolled. It took 4 minutes.
Okay, so now we know how to play some offense, but we also need to know about the traps that can send you right back to square one. And the biggest one, by far, the wrong kind of debt.
See, not all debt is the same. Good debt helps you buy things that can grow in value or make you money, like a mortgage on a house or maybe a small business loan. Bad debt, well, that's for stuff that loses value, paid for with high-interest loans that just suck the wealth right out of your pocket.
And bad debt is a huge, huge problem. The average credit card interest rate is over 24%. At that rate, compound interest is working against you, and it's working hard. It's not a line of credit. It's basically a subscription to being broke, with a 22-year contract you never realized you signed.
So with all this stuff, your income, your debt, your investments, how do you actually know if you're winning the game? It's not about how much you make. There's a much more important number to track.
And that number is your net worth. It's simple. You just add up everything you own, your cash, your investments, the value of your car, and then you subtract everything you owe. This one number tells the true story. A huge salary with huge debt, that's actually a pretty fragile position. But a modest salary with a growing net worth, that's real financial strength.
So when Alex finally sat down and did the math, the number was negative $8,000. And yeah, that can feel like a punch to the gut. But here's the most important part. A number you know is a number you can change. The people who stay stuck are the ones who are too scared to even look. This isn't a final score, it's your starting line. And you might be wondering, why is all of this so darn confusing in the first place? You have to understand, this isn't an accident. In many ways, the confusion isn't a bug in the system, it's the business model. When you're confused, you need help, and that dependency creates customers. So let's just do a quick recap of the new rules. 1. Inflation is always there, quietly eating away at your savings. 2. Your credit score has a real price tag attached to it. 3. Starting to invest early is your superpower. 4. Always take the free 401k money. And finally, number 5, track the one number that really matters, your net worth.
Remember where we started? With that $948? Well, over a 40-year career, that adds up to almost $40,000. That's not just some rounding error. That is life-changing money. And now that you know the rules, that money is yours for the taking. The only question left is, what are you going to do with it?